whenever you hear that song or perform that song, do you still have those like flashbacks of that trauma, or is that something that, you know what, I got it all out in the song? Now it's just kind of a not a bad reminder, but just a reminder of, how I wrote this.
Yeah, I think I definitely have gotten much less emotionally attached
Mm.
to the song, which is good
Mm-hmm.
because I was worried about like, is this just going to happen every time I sing this
Right,
song?
right.
Yeah, but it hasn't. It hasn't yet. We performed it live a couple of times now, so that's good.
Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, Chris. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 485. Phenomenal episode for you all today. Of course, I have to talk about... what am I going to talk about? I guess I have to talk about normal stuff, the socials. If you like what you hear, you want to keep on keeping up with me or any of the guests, you can do that on the socials, castingfor2.com, both on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, castingfor2.com is the perfect place to go and find the podcast on whatever podcast services you listen to, whatever. Go to it, have fun. My guest today, continuing the returning month theme, is phenomenal individual who just singer, songwriter, all of that, from the band Bloods. Bloods is back. MC is back and here and ready to talk about the new album that they have coming out. It's called Together Baby, and it's out on September 23rd, which is right now. So I recommend you guys picking that up. But I gotta go listen to the chat, pick up the album, sit back, relax, and MC, take it away. It's such a treat to chat with you again.
Oh,
I enjoyed our first chat, and I think it was a fascinating chat for me personally, just because you were the way that the interview was going, you were at a point where you weren't really sure where the band was going.
yeah.
And so that's been on my mind all day. And of course, when, the new album's coming out and stuff, I'm like, oh, this is great. So, there's just a lot of uncertainty, and I was just like, oh, well, I'm a big believer in, what happens, and let's see where this goes. But I'm so glad that you're still, doing stuff, and Bloods is still around.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do remember our chat, and it was a funny time. I think it was, I think that would have been around our EP,
Seattle.
So yeah, and we were very much in the throes of the beginning of the whole COVID age.
Right.
So it was such an unusual time, I think, for everyone, but especially felt by people who are, creative industries, who were used to getting out and connecting with people. I think it was just a strange shift, and so much uncertainty, not knowing. In Australia, we had some pretty intense lockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So, it just kind of felt like we were closed off from the whole world, really.
Right.
And having come from, I think we'd done a tour of the US just before, going into lockdown. So it was just all up in the air and weird.
Right. And, it's just kind of thinking back, of course, I was looking at the dates because I always like to find out, when did we last chat? And it was around May. Yeah, May 15th, 2020.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like thinking back, like that was normal 2020 mood of like, what do we do now? What's going on? And just, uh, the people who I talked to the entire year, that was the tone of like, we don't know what we're doing. We're just kind of hanging in
Yeah.
there. And, the amount of people that I talked to, musicians, it was just such a weird time. And like, creativity was just at a weird point because they're just like, we have this stuff, but we don't want to release it right now because it's just a weird point in time. Or they were being drained because they were just feeling gloomy because, yeah, again, for the social people, I totally understand. And especially in some like your case where you just did this big tour and now it's like, okay, now lockdown, stay in your home, don't move. I can
Yeah.
see where it's like, what? So,
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly still it feels more optimistic now, but
yeah.
it's taken a long time to kind of get here, right?
Right. Well, so how are things over there, right? Because obviously I'm in the States and I have a
Yeah.
state's point of view,
Yeah,
but
totally.
but for how's it on your end?
It's pretty good actually. I think people are kind of getting on with it now, and um you're able to travel more freely and
Mm,
go to other countries. I'm going to go to the UK in 2 weeks,
mm,
which is going to be really like the first time I'm kind of leaving Australia in 3 years. And Australians, we're really used to travel. Like
yeah.
we kind of, from when we leave school, we're encouraged to go and see the world. So I feel like that optimism is starting to seep back into all of our collective psyche. I think
Mhm.
we're seeing more live shows happening around town, and bands are releasing more music. I think it's still a little bit kind of murky. I don't want to pretend like everything's back to normal. I think people are kind of out of practice of going to see
Right.
live bands. That's a real thing. I think especially where I'm from in Sydney, a lot of venues closed down during the pandemic. So,
Mm,
it kind of does feel like at the end of a disaster film, the
yeah.
music industry is just trying to pick itself back up and rebuild and reimagine and stuff. But it's peppered with optimism. I think we all want it just to feel as normal as possible, as quickly as possible. I think as we kind of learn to live
Mhm.
with COVID, it's becoming easier.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And yeah, it's a lot of people here. They carry on and have done things and go to shows and stuff like that. And I'm still kind of that one person who's like, I don't know, I don't want to leave. I'll
Mm.
be like, oh no, cases are going up now. Naturally, they're not as high as they were at the height of the pandemic, but I'm just like, oh no, I don't want to do
Yeah.
any of that. So yeah, I'm still I've been slowly kind of getting my normie feet on, but still I'm just like, let me just take it in my own speed.
It's such a weird thing, right? Because it's a combination of things. Like it's definitely a lot of, fear
Hmm.
still exists about going out and being in crowded spaces, but it's also like our habits have changed, right? Like our
Yeah.
worlds became so small during the pandemic. And in a way, like that's such a great thing to be able to kind of, hone in on having quiet time at home
Mm.
and focusing on really kind of simple lives,
Right.
uncomplicated, not too many plans, all of that. And it did kind of change the way we lived. I definitely have had to readjust, do a lot of readjusting and remembering of what it was like before and what I was like before.
Hmm.
I think I definitely crave being home a lot more than I used to.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think we're all kind of just readjusting in that way.
Yeah, I love my home. I love my bed, and I like my TV.
Yeah,
So I'm just like, it's kind of like, why would I ever want to leave? What I
that's
buy,
right.
I
And I
buy
don't think
all,
you're alone there.
yeah, I buy all this stuff. Why don't I use it? Why am I going out? So yeah, let's
Yeah,
let's let's go back to bed. Um,
yeah, totally.
but so when did the album come together? Together, baby. When did that? when did you find, like, was it something that you were working on when the EP came out, or like, I'm just curious how that came together.
Yeah. Well, it was really interesting because, when I wrote the songs from the EP, I actually hadn't written music for, since Feelings, which had come out, I think, like maybe almost 3 years before that,
Mm-hmm.
or 2 years before that. And, I kind of forced myself to write,
Mm-hmm.
to put together Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And, after Seattle, again, I kind of fell into a bit of a dead spot. And then, during the pandemic, I think writing music became a way for me to fill my time because I am somebody who kind of needs to be doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like to be busy and, having no time to kind of go out and make plans and just do the normal stuff. Music kind of became my exercise,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. So I started writing all these songs, and it became pretty apparent pretty quickly that they all had a certain feel to them and felt like it was a record.
Mm-hmm.
But the hurdle was, like we couldn't get in a room and jam them out as a band. And that's the way we've kind of always put our albums together. Like I'll
Yeah.
write the songs, take them in, and then we'll flesh them out in the room together. So I had to basically convince the other two band members to do the record. We actually did it by correspondence.
Oh, okay.
So I would write the demos and send it to them, and then we'd kind of have a Zoom meeting and talk through the song
Mm-hmm.
and kind of where we wanted to take it and how we kind of saw our parts. And then I would get a drum track from Dirk would go, and he'd if I had to adjust the demo in any way, like if I wanted to add any more parts or consolidate the arrangement, I would do that, and then I'd send it to Dirk. Dirk would track a drum part, and then then his drum part would go over to Mike,
Mm-hmm.
who would then track his bass, and then they would send the bass and drum to me, and I would put all my parts over the top of it. So put my guitar down, any leads, any additional instrumentation like tambourines or hand claps, and record my vocals. And that's how we kind of tackled the entire demoing process. It was the weirdest and kind of almost like the best way that we've ever put a record together, because we've never had the space to think about what we're doing. Like it was all very, with Blood, it's a punk band, so it's all very, spur of the moment and, all about the energy that's in the room.
Right.
But doing it this way kind of made us think about the intention a lot more. And I think it's I think it's the most interesting record we've ever made as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And yeah, like I gotta imagine just having that moment of, okay, this is what he's doing, she's doing. Okay, hang on, let me take a second to just really process this, because again, yeah, you're by yourselves. That's very interesting. That you had a different energy going on than the one that you're used to.
Yeah, and it was almost like, having lost the ability to do what we were so used to doing, rehearsing every week and playing shows and being together. It was a really great way of us keeping the connection we had kind of alive. So, yeah, and I mean, I think, there was so much going on in the world at the time, and just being able to have that space to kind of reflect on your world. I think a lot of that my own inner thoughts really bled into the album lyrically as well. So I think I mean, I'm really proud of this record, and we did this one ourselves. Mike produced the whole album and mixed it. So everything, when it came time to think of a title, like we had a few names we were throwing around, but nothing felt quite right. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to throw some lyrics from songs out there. And
Yeah.
when I put down Together Baby, you know, Dirk immediately was like, Together Baby, that's perfect. Because that's how it feels like this record came together, you know, like it's been a very much the most in the family album we've ever made.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, you saying that, you know, you were kind of writing, you know, your thoughts and your feelings, stuff like that. Was there one song in particular that was a little bit challenging for you to write, whether, you know, something wasn't working, the lyrics, or?
I would probably say, you know, lyrically, Thinking of You, Thinking of Me, that song was like that, you know, I wrote that song as a therapy exercise. And it, you know, I wrote it at a time where I was processing some pretty difficult feelings, and I was quite low, and, you know, kind of, it was mid kind of the lockdown. And I was, you know, not really wanting to get out of bed, and picked my guitar up and started playing the chords, and it just kind of came out. And it was honestly like unbelievably therapeutic writing that song. And I remember when I recorded it, I actually got to the first chorus and just bawled my eyes out in the studio, and it was just me, Dirk, and Mike. Poor Mike and Dirk, we just didn't know what was going on, because I hadn't really told anyone where that song came from. But it was like, that was me processing like essentially a trauma through song. So that one has always been really special. And I think, you know, lyrically probably my favorite song I've ever written.
Do you whenever you hear that song or perform that song, do you still have those like flashbacks of that trauma, or is that something that, you know what, I got it all out in the song, now it's just kind of a not a bad reminder, but just a reminder of, you know, how I wrote this?
Yeah, I think you know, I definitely have gotten much less emotionally attached to the song, which is good, because I was worried about, like, is this just going to happen every time I sing this song?
Right.
Yeah, but it hasn't yet. We performed it live a couple of times now, so that's good.
Good. Has you know, mentioning that you performed a couple of times live, was there one song off the album that you were looking to play in front of people?
Yeah, look, Boss was always the one we were the most excited to play live, just because it's got a different energy. And, you know, now when we perform that song, I don't play guitar, which is the first time I've ever not had an instrument in front of me when we play. And it's just very liberating to be able to run around the stage and just scream those lyrics into a microphone. It's pretty awesome. So that's definitely been a highlight.
Did you ever have a moment of, you know, when you put down the guitar, like, I don't know what to do now? Do I just like stand here awkwardly, my hands to the side, or did you have to work up to the running around and screaming?
It was all pretty immediate.
Okay,
I think
cool.
You know, it was pretty. I think there's no way to go with that song where you can stay still. Like, it's just, it's so in your face. You know, like the first time we ever performed it, we were playing with a couple of bands. You know, we were on kind of like a hardcore lineup, and we were definitely the most pop band on the bill. And at the end of the show, I was in the middle of the crowd kind of screaming, and everybody was screaming it with me, which was really fun and a good way to kind of kick off the whole no guitar thing.
Yeah. And was that one of the first times that you played live? Like,
yes, that was the first time we'd played in 3 years, pretty much.
How was that energy?
It was really great. It was, you know, Ben, Mike's brother, he's joined us, our live band now, and he plays bass. So it was kind of like starting again, to be honest, in a really cool, refreshing way, with all these new songs and, you know, a new member, and it was very fun.
Yeah, yeah, and then oh man, yeah, no, I can't imagine just. I picture like a sleeping dragon. You know, you got all these songs worked out. You the album coming out, new member, and it's like okay, let's you have the roar of the crowd, and then it's like okay, let's awake this dragon. And that's wonderful. I'm happy for that.
Yeah, no, it was a little bit like that for sure. It took a minute to kind of remember that we were a band, to be honest. Like we definitely had to shake off some cobwebs, but
Yeah.
it all worked out in the end.
Nice, nice. Okay. So I've been, I'm fascinated with musicians playing live, and when you say you were shaking off the cobwebs, did you make any mistakes while you were playing?
Probably
Probably.
heaps of them. I
I,
just don't remember it. I
oh,
don't
okay.
remember any of them, which is good. That's good.
Yes.
But I'm sure that we did.
I'm just wondering, because I always wonder if musicians, or if I'm at a concert, like I wonder if they mess up, but we're just so in it. It's like who cares? Just, but I just wonder how somebody recovers from a mess up
Yeah,
when
it
they're
depends
playing
on the
live.
size of the mess up, right? Like I
Yeah.
think if it's just a bung note here and there, that's fine. You just kind of keep going, and if the energy's right, then yeah, I guess you just don't even remember it by the time you finish the set. But yeah, if it's like a colossal mistake. I mean, we've always been a little bit, till now. I think this is probably the most proficient we've ever been as a band. Because we obviously have been a band for a long time, and we kind of when we started Bloods we didn't know how to play our instruments,
Hmm.
but now not only do we play our instruments, we play them well, and we also have two members who are unbelievably musical and incredible at what they do, so
Hmm.
it's definitely brought up the quality. But when we first started, if we would make a mistake, we'd always make light of it.
Yeah.
Like if we forgot halfway through a song, we'd be like, okay, we're starting that one again. But I think it was part of the charm.
Yeah. I'll never. So I've played drums for a very long time, and I had a friend who was getting into guitar and learning it, and he was just kind of by the numbers. But you mentioning, learning to play your instrument well. I was so like legit. It was like watching my son score a touchdown. Like I was so happy when he said he knew how to solo, and
Oh,
I just could hug him and just like I was so excited for him to just solo. I'm like, I don't care what you play, just if you want a 5 minute solo, you go right ahead. Let's go. Let's do this. But
that's great.
uh,
That's the musical equivalent of a touchdown, a
exactly.
solo.
Yes. But and for the people at home who would like to pick up the album, which I had the chance to listen to it, and it's great. It's like I'm super excited, and I liked the EP. I like the direction that you're going in, and again, I'm just glad that you're still making music because I enjoy it selfishly, for me. But it's
Thank
whatever.
you.
But yeah. So but for people who want to pick up the album, any plans on touring, stuff like that, where can they follow you guys online?
Where can they follow us online?
Yeah.
Pretty much all of our social media is at Bloods Band, so that's easy.
Hmm.
The touring part we're working on. It's
Okay.
quite hard at the moment
Yeah.
to get from Australia to especially unfortunately the United States, as a result of everything just being so insanely expensive and difficult, logistically.
Yeah.
Visas taking a long time, but it is our aim to get over there hopefully next year.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. But you're just gonna kind of still do some touring around, Australia.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are. We're going to be, well, our next show is with Waves,
Mm.
the US band, and that's on the 28th of October. Um, they're doing King of the Beach and it's sold out. So hopefully, if anyone's listening to this, they have a ticket because that's going to be lots of fun.
Mm.
And then we're hoping to do an album tour around November.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Well, whenever you head on over here, I'll keep my eyes peeled because yeah, I definitely want to see you guys live, and Again, I'm so happy that you've been able to beat the COVID slump and are kicking butt and starting to travel again.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we are too. We're very stoked.
But yes, but I'll let you go. You have it's a little, what is it? Is it like 1 o'clock your time?
It's 10 a.m. here.
10 a.m. Oh, it's almost Avo time, so I'll let you have a good Avo.
Thank you. And you have a good evening.
Thank you. But yeah, anytime you want to come back, just say the word. All right.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.